First, I want to thank Manage Austin Better for having this forum tonight. I think it's very good that the community gets to weigh in and give their opinion to the City Council of how they feel about the city's management. I have been wearing two hats in Austin for a long time. I'm an architect, and I get projects through the city, and so the Zucker report is close to my heart, and knowing how difficult it is and how much of a problem the development and design community has with the permitting process in Austin. But I've also been a neighborhood advocate for a long time, and I served as a city council aide for 2 years, and so I got to see some of the inner workings of city government. You know, Mark Ott came to us because he's a man who helped manage Fort Worth on the nuts and bolts issues of the city. And I think his focus has always been on the nuts and bolts issues of the city. But unfortunately, our problems are policy issues, and they're big policy issues. I will comment that I have been glad to see that Mark Ott has done a few things that I think lead us in the right direction, but they're baby steps. The community involvement in the budgeting process is a good start. The creation of the Capital Investments Department is a good thing to do to coordinate capital work in the city. And I think he has been responsive to the Zucker report a little bit. But why did it take so long to get that response? One of the problems we have is that we have a whole slew of interrelated problems: affordability, the gap in income levels, and environmental protection. They're all related to what Brian was talking about, and that's the push for growth. But what is the city manager's responsibility? He doesn't set policy. The policy is set from the city council's point of view. But he has some obligations that I believe that need to be looked at. One of the primary obligations he has is to provide the council with options and ideas about the decisions that the district. The council needs to be supported by giving them the information they need to make good decisions. I think Brian, and a couple of the examples, talked about Pilot Knob and not having the information about the fiscal note available to the council. That's a major problem when the city manager has a 10,000 person staff and he doesn't have the ability to provide to the city council the information they need to make decisions. It's a problem with the senior staff. As a CEO of a business corporation, if you don't serve your stakeholders or your shareholders, you get fired, and you rely upon your senior staff. So the senior staff that Mark Ott has put around him, are they doing their job to support him and his ability to support the city council? I think not. The quality of the information that he provides is very limited, and it's often skewed, as Brian was saying, with regard to accomplishing the Chamber of Commerce's goals as opposed to the community's goals. The CM, the city manager, reports to the city council. He has an obligation to give the city council the information they need. And one of the biggest problems I have is that our city attorney reports to the city manager and not to the city council. So when the council goes into executive session, they hear from the city attorney what the city manager wants them to hear. That is a major issue that we have to deal with in the city. I think we need better management. We're a huge $3 billion a year corporation, and we can do better. Thank you.
Jane is a good friend. She doesn't announce that she's an attorney, but she is, and she's a smart lady otherwise, and has been active in, despite her law degree, no, including her law degree. And Jane has been active on trying to write the program, the historic property, landmark property issue. So, go for it.
Thank you, Linda. Every year, the Austin City Council with Travis County and AISD grant gigantic property tax subsidies to homeowners in two of Austin's most affluent neighborhoods. By designating properties as historic, council gives tax abatements to more than 40 Pemberton and Old Enfield houses, amounting to nearly half their property taxes. They're accustomed to paying, their appraised property values would generate property taxes in the neighborhood of $60,000 or $70,000 a year. Because the city council and the planning department have designated them as historic and granted monumental property tax abatements. These people are paying $20,000 or $30,000 instead of $40,000 or $70,000 in property tax. How much do you pay? The only requirement imposed on the owners of these mansions is that they provide a notarized statement of need to the city once a year. They never have to show that they actually spent the money on their property. The planning department accepts the following as an acceptable statement of need. Quote, older houses are more expensive to maintain. On the basis of this claim alone, the planning department office each year allows property tax cuts amounting to hundreds of thousands of dollars to owners of these houses. There's never been an audit, ever, to confirm that the properties being granted the abatements are actually spending the money for these abatements. The historic designation alone cuts the property taxes in half. 4 taxing entities pay for these subsidies: the City of Austin, Travis County, AISD, and ACC. But only the City Council does the deciding. Austin school children are paying so that wealthy Austinites can get their property tax bills cut in half. Oh yes, I'm paying too, along with the Austin school children, and so is every other property tax paying person as well. Now, to add insult to insult, fewer than 1% of all the so-called historic landmark homes in Austin are located in historically black or brown neighborhoods. Austin's historic landmark program is de facto racist in its application and its impact. Now, presently it costs more than $1,600 just to apply for historic zoning. Affluent homeowners are looked after really well by the historic landmark staff once they pay the $1,600. Meanwhile, the citizens who are most frequently threatened with losing their homes because of escalating property taxes resulting from just gentrification cannot even afford to apply for this status. The City Council and Planning Department should stop sending the message that historic worthiness is exclusively attributable to affluent whites. The concept of historic preservation is a valuable one, but Austin's program costs a lot and helps a very, very small portion of its citizenry who don't need help at all. The properties are not in danger of demolition or defacement, and the property tax abatement figures are not in sync with realistic needs. The process we have right now, which was amended in part in 2012, continues to operate as de facto racism and elitism. City Council members, Mark Ott, should revise the city ordinances to require that all historic landmarks apply for and justify the need for tax abatements if they're justified every single year. Secondly, the council needs to establish a strict definition of what is historically significant. And third, the council needs to make tax abatements contingent on documented showings that the properties are under threat of defacement or demolition, and a documented showing that the owners are in need of financial assistance in order to preserve a property that is significant to the history of Austin. Thank you.
I'm trying not to say insulting things up here, but do want to introduce people a little bit. Brandon Reed, you're up next. Brandon is with the Black Improvement Association, and we worked closely together on the Decker Lake project, and Brandon played a very, very important leadership role here in Austin in saying to the City Council that the people of Colony Park were not for having luxury golf courses in smack dab right next to their neighborhood. And he figured that out by actually talking to the community. Is that an amazing thing? He went out and talked to the community. So, Brandon.
Thank you, Linda.
It's the other one.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, turn that one on there, Brandon. I think it's not even on.
This one. Thank you, Linda. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out to the citizens hearing today in reference to why we want new management. I had over the past 72 hours, went over, say, about 10,000 pages worth of documents. In my mind, it got kind of cloudy, so I kind of narrowed it down and said I was just going to focus on the African American Quality of Life initiative as it relates to myself and residents of Colony Park, because I'm on the ground, and so I know exactly how that initiative is affecting the citizens of Colony Park. So, and I wanted to kind of go through each initiative, but I know I don't have enough time, so I'll kind of pick and choose each initiative, each section of the initiative. So the African American Quality of Life Initiative, for those who don't know, was a study that was started in 2005, I believe. First, let me start out by saying I was born in Dallas. I'm a member of the Overton family in Austin, and I've been in Austin since 2008, on the ground, active in the Colony Park as an activist the whole time Mark I've been in Austin, so I want everybody to be aware of that. Section 8 of the, Initiative 8 of the African American Quality of Life Initiative states that it is to ensure that African American artists, musicians, filmmakers, and others are included in city co-sponsored events, and events are publicized in the African American press and community websites. As far as I know, in 2016, the African American community only had one event east of I-35, one event east of I-35 that was an actual official South by Southwest event. It was held at George Washington Carver. I think the Victory Grill put that on. So 8 years later, another thing I want to say before I delve into this is that we want an updated report of the progress we made on the African American Quality of Life Initiative, because it's 2016 and we're still going off data from 2008. Initiative, so under employment and education, most of my talk is going to be under employment and education due to the fact that I mentor youth and try to curve their lives around and try to make a better situation for the community, fighting crime, fighting gang violence, and things of that nature. So, number 5, under the Employment and Education Initiative, it says to encourage and provide incentives to businesses and other organizations so they would offer ex-offenders life and job skill training and job opportunities. Well, as a felon, I've been a felon since '99. I changed my life around, and I've been trying to do the right thing ever since. But as a felon, on the ground in Austin, Texas, Austin has no programs for ex-offenders. First-hand experience. I'm not getting that from anybody that I heard through the grapevine. I am a felon, and I know that they don't have any program. However, today they pulled a move, excuse my language, but they wanted to have the fair chance hiring ordinance at 6 o'clock today, and they steered most of my supporters back to City Hall to support the fair chance hiring ordinance, which I don't have a problem with, but hey, we need to get started somewhere. So that's why a lot of us are not here, because they tried to counter us with a city council meeting. And so number 6, develop a page on the city's website that is dedicated to African American educational issues and resources. That doesn't exist, as far as I know. Number 7, and this is 9 years later. Well, maybe, right. Number 7, increase collaboration with AISD, including joint use facilities, after-school programs, mentoring programs, and other efforts that improve ineffective programs and curriculums. Like I said, I had a mentor youth in Colony Park, Turner Roberts Recreation Center. We have 120 to 130 children on a daily basis in our after-school program and the free program that we work with. So I wanted to focus on number 7 for a minute, because the African American Quality, Turner Roberts Recreation Center and Valma Overton Elementary School was a product of the African American Quality of Life study. It was the only product that I see where the school and the city facility is conjoined in order to save money and I guess create more efficient services. So one of the problems that I noticed in working with those youth over there was the lack of communication between the Turner Roberts Recreation Center staff and the Valma Overton elementary school staff. And that's in regards to the Valma Overton staff really doesn't communicate with the city staff. And so, I know y'all saying, well, what does the African American Quality of Life Initiative study got to do with Mark I? Well, that is one of his initiatives. I had a PowerPoint program to kind of go through his website to show you his initiative. First his page, then some of his initiatives, and the African American Quality of Life Initiative was the #1 initiative of the Quality of Life studies. The first one, as a matter of fact. So going back to the Turner Roberts Recreation Center and Valma Overton Elementary School being conjoined. Now, in the vision, they envisioned that this facility would possibly create higher education achievement for those youth out there. However, I am here to tell you that that is totally contrary to what the African American Quality of Life Initiative was for, because just last month, February, again, I talked about communication between these two organizations that is less than from here to the door together to talk about the same 120 students that attend the Valma Overton Elementary, and so we couldn't get them to talk. I got involved in the process because the Colony Park Neighborhood Association wanted to change the name of the after school program, so he got involved, inserted himself personally into our issues